welcome back. Today I'm coming to you with my September roundup and bookoplathon. I had a fantastic month reading wise, so I've completely smashed my bookoplathon goals and I've got a lot of books to show you. Actually, not a lot of books to hold up and show you, but a lot of books to talk about. So my prompts for bookoplathon first. Actually, you know what? No, first I'm going to enthuse about this pen. Now, this is not a paid promotion or anything. I just got an email from Cult Pens, who I've bought pens from in the past, saying, by the way, one of our pens was in Heartstopper, and here it is. Isn't it beautiful? That's how it's written, and it's nice and smooth. And this ink, I quite like this ink as well. Fancy ink from a mythology range. So this is Hera Green. Victorious soldiers returning home to rest near me under the trees. Ink for the Queen of Strength and Excellence. Hera, Mother to Gods, comforts and encourages all. I'm not quite sure she does in every mythology, but you know, I thought green pen, green ink. Yeah, now I'm going to get onto my bookoplathon. So my first prompt for bookoplathon was people on the cover. And I picked up Addison Cook and The Treasure of the Incas, which I did not really get on with, not my cup of tea. Okay, so my second prompt was with a building on the cover, and I had just got my copy of this through the post with this lovely temple, castle, I'm not quite sure, on the front. This is the second book in the Six Kings and Crane series, in which our hero has to go and conquer demons, save the world, fall in love, get her love back, you know, all that stuff. And it's lovely, it's really lovely. And yeah, this copy is very pretty. It's not an exclusive or anything, but it's pretty. My third prompt was favourite trope, and I went with Cemetery Boys, because I heard that it had a lot of switching between languages, which is one of my favourite tropes, and oh my goodness, it is adorable. Oh, it just features this teenager, and you just want to, I don't know, I got all the maternal feels from this, both of the pairs, and also, you know, if your son came home with one of them, you'd be like, oh, I'm so glad you got someone who's so lovely. Like, actually, you wouldn't. You'd be like that in your heart, but you'd just be like, yeah, I'll just put the kettle on, will I? Because, you know, be like, oh, I'm so glad. Oh, he's just adorable. And it's about this boy who wants to prove himself to his rather transphobic family, or trans-reluctant family, I don't know. And I just want to give him a hug. I'm sorry. I'm really not doing a good description of this book, am I? But it's lovely. So the next prompt after that was Random Letter Generator, which I got an S. And I'd picked something else out, but then this dropped through my door, and it's Shauna Maguire, and it's about a serpent, and this is just like fairy hero takes on the world, bad stuff happens, good stuff happens, our hero saves the day. And she is very wonderful. This is book like 16 in the series. So I'm wary of too much spoilers, but if you like books which rely heavily on Shakespeare, there's a quote from the Ballad of Tamlin in every book, and it's just very fairies. Then start with book one. Okay, the next was First Person, and for this I read Gone Girl by Donna Andrews. This is a series of bird pun titled cozy mysteries about a blacksmith and her giant extended family, who are all a bit weird and a bit lovely. And in this book, her ornithologist grandfather is looking for some rare gulls. And there's a series of murders, and they have to work out how they do or do not relate to the gulls. And because, of course, the grandfather is actually convinced they're related to the gulls. And look, I've got ink all over my hands. Just because I just filled it up. It's not because it's somebody like that. But anyway. My next was an ebook which I read, Shepherd's Life by James Rebank. This is a book about, it's like James Herriot, only my age. So it's a book about someone who's grown up knowing that he is going to be a shepherd. He's going to take over the shepherd's life, and he's got this very rural way of life, and he's got this very different mindset to anyone I've known, probably anyone I've ever known, because I like to live in towns. I'm not very rural, even though I live in a village now. This is my first time. So so I find that really interesting. And there were a lot of sheep in the book, which helps if you like books about sheep. So I don't know. That's all I've got. The next was a dice roulette, and for this I read This Savage Song, I think, by Victoria Schwab. I read This Savage Song in the archive at about the same time by Victoria Schwab, both by Victoria Schwab at about the same time, and I can't remember which one of them had about 400 pages, and I borrowed them from the library. So it was one of those. So the archive reminded me of The Tunnel of Bones, that series. It's about somebody who helps keep stories of people's lives in their right places in the Library of People's Lives thing. The dog's just opened the door and it's got really loud in here, so I'm just going to shut it. So I'm fairly certain that's one of the earliest books, and it really shows like she's just got better and better as a writer, or better and better as a book provider, I guess. So I don't know. This Savage Song was fantastic. It's about a society in which when you do really bad things you create a literal monster, and then it's got that kind of trope of like who's really the monster here, which I love. And it's like Romeo and Juliet with more monsters and less romances, I think how she described it herself. Let me see, it's a fantastic quote. Sin City plus Romeo and Juliet minus romance plus monsters. That's all you need to know, really, isn't it? It's brilliant, and it lives up to it, and I loved it. And then for the end of my bookoplathon, I was going to read, it was taken from a TBR game, and I did re-roll, so I had to have two of them, taken from someone else's TBR game. I was going to read Revenge of Seven by Pittacus Law, but I'm afraid I just did not care anymore. I cared when they were first coming out, and then I missed one, and I just don't care. So instead, I read The Great Brain Robbery by P.G. Bell and Firekeeper by J.C. Cervantes. And they were both fantastic. I was kind of not really in a middle grade kind of mood, But Great Brain Robbery is about a girl, it's the second in a series about a girl who wakes up in her bed one night and discovers that a troll is running a railway through her bedroom, and she becomes a postmaster. So in the second book, she's like a postie in this magical realm, and she gets on the train and she goes to Impossible Places. That's the name of the series, The Train to Impossible Places, and delivers post and saves the world. And it's cute, it's fun, it's fast paced. I really like it. I just wasn't in the mood. And the Firekeeper is Mayan mythology, I think, and it's about the gods are coming back and they're attacking people, and I didn't keep it in my head. But this isn't because it's not a great book. It is a great book. It's just I didn't keep it in my head. I think I'm going to go back and reread that at some point. We've got it on the shelf somewhere, so I will go back. Then the other books which I read in September, I read Loveless by Alice Oseman, and this is a really, really great book, and it felt important. It's about someone who goes to university, a big romantic. She just wants to meet someone, fall in love, and have lots of sex and babies. And instead she discovers that she is asexual and aromantic. And everyone's doing the whole, it's just a phase. Okay, everyone will say bloody what? It doesn't matter. Just accept someone the way they are at the moment. It's not just a phase. And even... Anyway, sorry, you know that rant. You know it. And it's just lovely. And the way she feels inside, and the people who support her are just really lovely, and it's a really deep insight into someone discovering that they're ace in A-Ray, and I'd heartily recommend it. And Oseman, of course, is a fantastic writer. The next one I read was Heroic Hearts, which is a book of short story, urban fantasy short stories by Jim Butcher. I love these collections because they just give you an insight into different universes, and if you've got one that you've been following the series, then they're just like little nuggets that slip in. Okay. A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. I've been reading this with my 13-year-old and we loved it. It's got an unreliable narrator who's coming to terms with her girlfriend's death, and she meets someone else who is kind of... she thinks their friendship is kind of... it's not necessarily the healthiest friendship. And they kind of grow together, and there's magic, and there's witchcraft, or there's like stuff going on in their mind, and it's very psychological. It's got a lot of love and a lot of hatred in it, and it's a dark academia, and it's just brilliant. So yeah, definitely recommend you go and read that one. Then I read East of the Sun and West of the Moon. I read a collection of Norwegian fairy tales, because I keep seeing East of the Sun, West of the Moon retellings. I'd be like, I don't know that one. So I went and found Peter Asbjørnsen's original collection, which included that in translation. So that's what I read. Next up, I read American Wife by Curtis Sittenfeld. Now, this is a novelization of the life of Laura Bush, and I knew nothing about Laura Bush before going into this, and oh my god, if George Bush is really that much of an arse, no wonder he was so George Bushy, I guess. But I mean, I quite like Laura in it. Her character is called Alice. Like, she's someone that she'd never be anyone I'd be like really close friends with if I knew them, but she was kind of alright. But the Dobbs character is just awful. But I found the book completely gripping, absolutely gripping. I love the writing style. I love the story, and just because you don't want to be in the story doesn't mean you don't want to read the story. So yeah, loved it. And the next one I read, and the last one for the month, was the collected Jingle Bell comics, because I borrowed this from a friend quite a while ago and I just wanted to get it finished. So I know it's completely unseasonable, but Jingle Bell is adorable. The relationships, the interfamily relationships are just like, no, Santa, why? But it follows, Jingle Bell is the mischievous daughter of Santa, who always gets like hidden in a corner and never trusted, and her friendships and her interaction with the world, and how she's always desperately trying to make her parents proud, and she always gets a lump of coal in her stocking anyway. And it turns out what she does with that coal is she has a massive party with all her friends, so it's not so bad, but it's still quite uncomfortable. But it's funny and it's cute, and I really like it. So I'm just like delving into this far too deeply. So that is the last book I read in September, and now I'm doing a spoopathon. I've not managed to read many spooky books as such, but I have read 5 books so far this month. It's the 7th, and I have managed to fit them into lots of the prompts. So I guess I'm having another good month, and I will see you soon. Bye.